To be honest, tune in. Is this the pod going up? To be honest, sit down, we need to have a talk. Cornelius gon' make a point that the others don't. The mother souls sound the same, come escape the box. Expand your mind, dig into no controversial topics. He ain't scared to keep it real. Tune into this podcast, but don't be in your feelings. We gon' have a laugh, we gon' talk about some pain. Let's talk about the present situation of today. To be honest, is this the podcast? I need to tune in right now.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of To Be Honest. This is your boy Cornelius, Lindsey, and
your boy
Mr.
Bear's up in here too.
Oh, Bear's up in here too, bro. Bear's up in here too. Hey, yo, so Bear, while we talking today, I gotta get this mic. While we man, bro, we talking today, and I had this conversation with I've had this with a couple of guys who I've been coaching here lately, and we were in Florida. I was in Florida last week celebrating my kid's birthday. And so one of my homies, he mentioned that he's single, and he's in his upper 30s. And so I was asking about the dating game. Like, so what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, every time I kind of talk to him, like, he's kind of rapping with a different woman. So my thing was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you going to settle down, you're thinking about settling down, you want to settle down, all those different things. And so we just started to get into a whole conversation about dating that then morphed into something else. So it's two things that I wanted to kind of bring up in this conversation we having. Number one, I asked him, like, what does he feel like the major impediment is? Like, what is this block between men and women now when it comes to dating? And then the second piece is the blame on either side? Is the blame on men or is the blame on women? So now I want to open this up into discussion with me and you, bro, because I know that oftentimes you and I, we have these conversations, and I feel like they can kind of go there. So let's have this talk. I mean, I know right now you're not a single man anymore, but I mean, bro, talk to me, homie.
Oh my God. So wait, I want to know what he said though. I want to know what his answer was. Like, did he say that there was a block, or like, what did he say?
Yeah, so I mean, it is definitely a block. So here, I think here are a couple of key components from our conversation. Number one is that, and this is going to be extremely controversial, but this is To Be Honest, so I want to say it. The first one was that the feminist movement has done a great disservice to women.
Mm-hmm.
In the forms of getting them to really understand relationship. That was the first thing. The second thing was that the purity culture inside of the church probably did more damage, and that's extremely controversial. So I need to like unpack that a lot more. But the purity culture inside of the church did more damage for Christian relationships, or for relationships in general, relationships with, I would say, church folk. I won't just say Christians, but with churched folk. It did more damage for relationships, with church folks. So that was the second thing. So first thing we talked about feminism. The second thing we talked about was the purity culture, and the third thing was just the emasculation of the man.
Yeah.
And so those three things became the topic of our conversation, which then took us for like a whole ride, bro. It was crazy. Like, we legit sat outside. We talked for like 2.5 hours about this. It was sick. So that was our combo.
I'm interested to hear more about this whole. Oh my goodness, bro! I'm like, there's so many different avenues and things to like talk about here that I don't think that the time that we have is going to be enough, but we're going to try.
Right.
We're going to try. You know what the first thing that came to my mind, man, is like when you're talking about the emasculation of men.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my belief is that men are weak. um, because and you know, like coming from me, you know, I've felt that way before.
Right.
You know, we talked about this.
Right.
I felt like I had my balls chopped off.
Right.
But now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, it's because I let that happen. You know, there's nothing but myself that allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say this is very interesting. You're bringing this up because one of the books that I just read, and I think it's an amazing read. I'm actually thinking about reading it again while I read my next book. But the book is called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and pretty popular book. I would say every man and women, I feel like it's a book that they should pick up. But chapter 5 was one that was extremely, you know, I would say controversial. Also, yet hit on a lot of truths. There was a lot of things that he said that I was like, ooh, yeah. And this was, and it goes back to the point you were making. One of the points that he was seeking to make was that, you know, men, you know, a lot of times with little boys have to grow up to be the good boy. You know, men or boys are typically raised in a predominantly feminine environment. If you look at, you know, most of our teachers are women. When you think of, you know, the department, when you think of, you know, even in the government, when you think of like the department with the Secretary of Education, typically a woman. When you think of, you know, Sunday school teachers, you think of women. When you think of, you know, when you think about church, oftentimes, even though church there's usually a man who's preaching on the pulpit, typically behind the scenes is women. You know, the women run the choir, the women are the ushers, the women are administrating, the women are doing it. So
the women are the ones in attendance.
Yeah, the women's are one in attendance. So, I mean, a lot of times, you know, even when you get the music and stuff like that, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's feminized music. I don't want to say that, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's a great deal of it. So because of that, you know, because we have a lot of femininity just invoked into our environment, invoked into our culture, then, you know, you have boys who are raised in an environment that are being led by women. When women say, okay, you need to be a good boy. You don't need to do that. Don't talk that way. Don't run over that. Don't run around there. Don't pick that up. Don't touch that. Don't climb on that. But then every time you tell the boy not to do it, it robs him of that masculine energy that says, but I need to climb on this. Like I want to wrestle to see how strong I am. And then it makes it even worse when that little boy does not have a man, you know, doesn't have an alpha in order to test his strength against, whether, you know, the mom is intentionally keeping the kids away, which happens a lot, or, you know, the dad's just not in the picture because he don't want to be, or, you know, the dad's in jail, or the dad's, you know, going away in the military, whatever it may be, whatever the case may be, the parents may be divorced. But going along with, you know, with really what you was talking about, it was saying that the little boy is told to be a good boy, and then he grows up to be a nice guy. And nice guys don't usually finish first. I mean, if you look around, I mean, even if you look at our culture today, you get a lot of girls who are like, I don't want no nice guy. I don't want no nice guy. Like, you know,
it sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
It sounds so stupid. Like, I don't get where that, like, it's legit stupid. Every time I hear that, I'm just like, I mean, yeah, you don't want a nice guy, but then when you got a guy that's treating you like crap, you're like, oh my God, like, I'm not going to call the cops on you. And then the cycle continues. There's no man in the house. Like,
it's crazy. And I mean, in no way do I want to laugh at domestic violence, but I think one of the things that you were saying, I think hits on that. It's very confusing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's two things. I think number one is that usually we attract the drama that we kind of grew up in, and then like it's just our flesh is just attracted to that bad part of it. So we want somebody that's rougher. We want somebody that's tougher, because typically the bad boy gives off a different type of masculine energy. He's not wimped down by society. he usually moves at the beat of his own drum. If she knows that if they're out, somewhere, he's going to fight for her, even if he got to kill a dude to fight for her. She knows that he's going to have his own mind. She knows she's going to be protected. She knows that it's just, he has this extremely masculine side that I think that is what she's attracted to.
And it's not a bad guy that they want. They want a strong man.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. They want a strong man that will do all the things that you kind of just said there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that was.
What about this?
Oh, go ahead.
What about this purity thing? Like, what would you guys talk about with that?
Jesus.
Please hit on that.
Okay. I'm gonna get on that.
We ain't got much time. I'm trying to get there, bro.
I know. I'm gonna get on that. But first, I gotta tell the audience about my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is absolutely amazing. I don't know if you're out there. I mean, you're trying to achieve your goals. You're trying to live your life. You're trying to have the best relationships. You're trying to do everything, and it just always seems like something happens in your life. You're getting pushed down, knocked down. You're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm telling y'all, whatever's interfering with your happiness, BetterHelp, my sponsor, they're amazing to be able to help you. You can check out betterhelp.com/TBH. BetterHelp.com/TBH. I don't know about y'all. I believe in therapy. I mean, I support therapy. I've been to BetterHelp. They're absolutely amazing. I even tell people, people say, well, I can't afford it. You can get financial aid in order to help you. I know I have friends who have went and gotten financial assistance to help them, just to help them get it. But the great thing is that you can start communicating under 48 hours. This isn't a crisis line. This isn't self-help. This is professional counseling done securely online. You ain't got to go sit in nobody's office. You ain't got to wait in no waiting room. You getting right on the computer. You talking to them on the phone, whatever it may be. Everything is done in the comfort of your own home or your car, or wherever you need to do it at. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can find the particular expertise you need online, whether you're suffering from depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, LGBT matters, grief, self-esteem. They cover it all. Anything you share is confidential, convenient, professional, and affordable. I want you to start living a happier life today as a listener of To Be Honest, y'all. That's what they're doing. They're going to give y'all 10% off for your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/TBH. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that is BetterHelp, HELP.com/TBH. TBH for To Be Honest. So betterhelp.com/TBH. So, bro. All right. So now we talking. So because this,
come on, I've been waiting.
This is where it gets.
I'm waiting.
This is where it gets. So it's interesting because the purity culture.
First, explain to people like what that is.
Okay, so I can't really kind of give a background story to it, but I know that my wife and I we were inundated in it. And then when we started preaching, it was a large part of it was a large part of what we spoke about, large part of our platform. And the idea behind it was that, you just need to just remain pure. And while I think that foundational material is extremely important, I think what happened is that when you mix, we're going to remain pure without proper context, without, proper understanding, when you mix that without anything and you mix it with legalism, then it begins to place more people in bondage. So, one of the things, my wife and I, we waited to kiss. We waited 1 year and 8 months before we kissed on our wedding day. And I would always have people, Jay, that would always say, okay, see, I know you guys did this, but are you telling us that we can't kiss until we get married? And my wife and I would always say, no. We're not creating more laws. This is just what we did. But unfortunately, I don't think that people are mature enough. And I think a lot of people want to find a formula. They want to find what works. So they're looking out into the Christian world, into the church world. I say church world more than Christian world. So I think the two are not necessarily the same. looking around in the church world, trying to find examples on how they can have great marriage, have great relationships, but they can't find it because it is opposed to the way that they actually live. And it's opposed to the idea of what they have within, or what they have, just within their mind. So the whole thing behind it, the whole purity culture itself, I think there's a lot of unpacking to do. But I agreed with him that I think a lot of the foundational material without context mixed with the legalism is creating a great deal of it has created a great deal of problems. And the reason why I say that is we have a large number of women right now who are sitting in churches wanting to be married, Jay.
Yeah.
And then when you add on the expectations of what these women say, okay, these are the things that they say I want. These expectations are like, dude, it's like it's astronomical. Like what women are saying, well, no, I want this, and in order for you to be my man, you got to do this, you got to be that.
Should we bring Kevin Samuels on right now? Should we call him up right now?
Kevin Samuels on right now?
I think we need to call Kevin right now.
I don't think we can bring Kevin Samuels on.
Because he's talking about, I think what you're talking about is the same thing he be talking about all the time. These women want a high value man, which is cool, but I'm not going. Oh Lord.
Well, I think it's just
be 5'5".
No, but I mean, I think a lot of our priorities are messed up because you look at our culture today, bro. In our culture today, what are we told more of? We're told more. We're taught more of how we should make the woman happy, right? Is this woman happy? Is she happy? She needs to be happy. Is she happy? Is she happy? Is she happy? But when is there ever a time where you're like, well, is he happy? You know what I mean? Like, so what about your husband? Or the old famous line that we grew up talking to, we grew up, listening to. They say, a happy wife, happy life. Which I was pissed off when I heard that when I was dating, because I was like, hold up, happy wife, happy life. So you telling me that even if I'm miserable, the fact that she happy, that makes the whole house happy? But then I started to see something that, the dude was talking about. I think his name is Terrence Small, whatever his name is. And Nowhere Mr. Nice Guy. And he talked about this, bro. I think it was in chapter 5. It was about chapter 5, chapter 6. He talked about how men have become, the good guy becomes dependent upon the approval of women because that's all he knows. All he knows is women's approval. So he starts to, he lives his
weakening
life.
Of his character.
Say it again?
The weakening of his character.
Exactly. Because that's all he knows. So he spent his whole life, trying to, get the approval of his mom, trying to get the approval of his grandmama, trying to get the approval of his teachers. They were all women. And then, then he gets into a relationship and now he all of a sudden he has to get the approval of his wife. Always trying to live up to her standard, always trying to live up to who she wants him to be and all the expectations that she has placed on him. And then he finally gets to the place. I love how the author puts it, like, no, stop. Like, no, like, why are you living for her? Who is she? Like, who is this woman that you're trying to live up to? And I think that in itself, bro, is a great deal in it too. I think you have a lot of men who fall on two different categories. Either they'll say, I don't care anything about what a woman says, and then they just be whoever they want to be, or as dirty dogs that they want to be. Or you have those guys who will say, I'm going to agree so much with what a woman says that I'm going, I'm gonna just fall into a line with whatever they're saying. I'm just kind of do whatever they want me to do. I'm going to conform to whatever image they want me to be.
That just sounds miserable.
You said what?
That just sounds miserable.
Because it is.
Isn't it?
It's extremely miserable. I think a lot of men are living that way. I think a lot of married men are living that way right now. They're living inside of marriages, inside of relationships where they haven't been happy in years, but who's cared about their happiness? Because because the attention has never been on them. Because, I mean, we're quick in our society to say a relationship is supposed to be 50-50. But when it comes down to happiness in the household, our society don't talk about how a man should be happy. You know, it's like, you know, you need to go out, you need to go make some money, and you need to make 6 figures, and you know, you need to go do that. You need to fight for me, but I stand beside you, but you need to fight for me. I'm gonna stand behind you when you need to fight for me. But
that don't even make sense. That don't even logically make sense.
It's insane.
The argument doesn't even agree.
It's insane. It's insane. So I think a lot of just our ideology as a society itself has to change, because it's crazy right now.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to this generation and the world that we live in right now is boy, oh boy, with technology and our constantly looking at what we think, you know, is like we're constantly looking without. We're constantly looking in our phones, or constantly looking on the TV or on the news or social media or whatever it is about what we think a relationship should be with our spouse or with our significant other. And so we're taking all of these different ideas. We're taking this meme from here, you know, and this little quote from this page, and this little snippet from this blog post that we read, and this book that we read, and we're assimilating all of these ideas into our own belief system and trying to figure out, like, okay, well, how do I make all of this make sense within my relationship with my spouse? And I think that those are good, you know, like there's good advice out there, you know.
Right. Absolutely.
Of course there's good advice. I'm definitely not disregarding that fact at all.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to relationship, you have to figure out what works for you.
Right.
For you and your relationship, and what is right within.
Right.
How does, like, for example, like you and Heather, you guys said that this is what we're going to do before we get married,
right,
or this is what we're not going to do before we get married,
right,
and that works for you,
right.
You know, that's something that is specifically tailored because, you know, it works for you. And now what happens is people on the outside, they look and they say, they try to assimilate that and say, why isn't it working for me?
Yeah.
You know, like, how come it's not working? Like, I still kiss and I can't stop it. You know what I mean? Or now, does that mean I don't have, like, willpower enough, or I'm not strong enough? You know, but again, just like figuring out, like, what works for you. And as a man, like, yeah, I'm not even going to bring up Kevin no more. Well, not going to bring up Kevin no more. I'm just
well, I was going to say this. I was going to say this based on what you just said, and that is that, you know, a lot of times, so when I was sitting to have this conversation with one of my guys, and it was interesting because, you know, he brought up this point. He was like, you know, as a single man, I wonder, is marriage still something that's for me? He's like, because when I look out at society today, it seems like everybody getting a divorce. Yo, I mean, every time I turn around, I mean, people getting a divorce, and this is no way to provide shame on anybody who's got a divorce. I don't know anybody's story, and they've made their own decisions. I'm not pointing out any person, I'm not pointing out any relationship, but he was just saying, he's like, he seemed like, you know, my pastor got a divorce, and this person got divorced, and this person got divorced. I just feel like everybody around me is like divorced now. And so he's talking about the divorce, and he's like, you know, the thing that scares me is that I'm not talking about, you know, random guy down the street. I'm talking about my pastor. I'm talking about the guy who preaches from the book. I'm not, you know, he's like, I'm not just talking about, like, you know, my high school teacher. He said, I'm talking about, you know, a deacon in the church who just got divorced. So he's going down the line and he's showing some things. And I think that plays into this idea, bro. And that is that it is one thing for us to have a life that's built on rules or legalism, which that's what purity culture really, really gave us at the foundational level. It was like a lot of rules. Here are all the rules you follow. 12 ways to to find a spouse, you know, 7 ways to make your marriage healthy, 11 ways to do this. And And so we had all these rules, but the problem is we lacked application, and then we just lacked the fruit of the spirit. Cause it's like, well, you can have all the rules, but you ain't got no patience. And I wonder why people who are not churched, bro, in my life, I have more people who are not churched who have great marriages. They don't even go to church. They don't, I don't even think they even know, they don't even know where their Bible at. But they have great marriages. And I'm just like, something's is off, because these people over here, they go to church, profess God, wake up, pray, have an hour of power, 5 a.m. in the morning, always praying, the prayer of Jabez and everybody and everything else. But they men is a rattlesnake and divorce. And you asking yourself the question like, yo, if this worked, why it ain't working for you? And I think that is a very good question that we should be able to ask the church, and the church should have to give an explanation for it. And I don't think the church wants to really respond to that. And we can't just say it's sin, huh?
What do you think it is?
I think it's an overindulgence on legalism, and and I think we don't spend enough time just talking about the fruit of the spirit. I'm talking about Galatians chapter 5. I'm talking about, patience, love, joy, long suffering. I'm talking about those things that says, listen, y'all, I mean, y'all gonna end up doing what you're gonna do in it, because y'all are people, y'all grown. But at the end of the day, let me tell you something about marriage. Marriage is about two imperfect people, two humans coming together, two humans are coming together forever, just saying, we're gonna figure it out. That's what marriage is. And, this idea, because again, legalism says that if I follow all the rules, just like the good guy, if I follow all the rules, then everything should be right. Right.
I think you need to say that again, like for the people in the back, because that cannot be understated. Like, seriously, man, like marriage is two imperfect people coming together and figuring out, like, we're going to figure this out.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Let me ask you this, what about the people that are not happy, or that, are never in agreement with another? Because, you got of course, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, people always find a way, an excuse or some sort of reason or some sort of situation.
Right.
For, like you say that rule, just figure, people are coming together to figure it out. It's like, well, what about this or what about that? You know what I mean? So, what about some of those things?
Well, I mean, I don't take away from those things, but what I will say about those things is that they're not, whatever you're unhappy about, I'm quite confident that you're not the first one in history to be unhappy about those things. My wife and I, we've been married for almost 11 years, and in 11 years, we've had some extremely unhappy moments, being very unhappy with each other. We haven't always been happy in our marriage, but there's nowhere even in the Bible where it tells us that we're supposed to have a happy marriage, because relationship itself is not going to always be happy. I'm not always happy with my relationship with God. And, for some, really, sacrilegious people, that's going to seem like blasphemy. How can you say you ain't always happy with God? I ain't. I'm not always happy with him, because a lot of times I feel like the journey he puts me on is completely unfair. Because I'm human. I feel like it should be a lot easier. I feel like I shouldn't have. I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like I'm a great guy. I don't deserve to be attacked by people. That's how I feel. And I'm like, well, God, why I got to go through this? Why I got to wait for your vengeance? So a lot of times I don't feel happy. So when you talk about people who are like, well, I'm unhappy, then I think the question must be asked: who told you were so? Who promised you happiness? Was it the vows you made? Because even in the vows we make, the traditional vows we make, I will love you, for richer or for poor, for sicker or in health, for better or for worse. And
nobody wants to talk about the worst part,
bro. But like, what if you spent 10 years of your life in worse for you to spend 40 years of your life in better? And that's the part. That's the part we don't want to talk about.
You gave up at year 9.
Because you gave up at year 9 because it was worse. But that was the for worse part, because the for better part's coming. But then we get lazy and we don't want to work on it. And because we live in a high sex driven society, and people are on Instagram and stuff like that, then it becomes like you begin to think in your head like, oh, I got options. And then you get your butt out there and you start being single and you start getting on the dating scene again and you realize, oh, you ain't got as many options as you thought you did. Then you start getting on them dating sites like, well, I got options, and you start realizing like, no, you ain't the spring chicken you used to be.
Because options, oh Lord, oh Lord, these options come with options. They don't come with
they come with a package.
About 2 options and a Happy Meal.
Oh God, no! Oh, they got a toy. The Happy Meal got a toy. Happy Meal got a toy. Like Chick-fil-A, they get a coloring book.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not fooling with you. I'm not fooling with you today, bro. I'm not fooling with you. Yo.
Well, I tell it because I know it. I know it. I live through it. I can tell like it is.
Yeah.
So I can speak to it. I'm gonna speak to it. Huh?
I know, bro. I know you can. I know you can. Yo, we've been writing this for 30 minutes. So we're gonna wrap this up, yo. We have to come back to this subject because we gotta talk about the last part of that. And I think we kind of covered a little bit of it, but that's just weak. Just the idea and really answering the question, you know, have men gotten weak? Have we just kind of fallen on the sword and just said, okay, you know, whatever. I'm gonna just live in this. I'm gonna just live in this in this world. I'm gonna just kind of live in it. You know. So we gotta have a conversation next. But bro, I appreciate you being with me again, Jay. Everybody out there, to be honest. Yeah, bro, I appreciate that. Everybody out there, to be honest, land, man, you know I love y'all. Thank y'all so much every single week for rocking with me. Hey, make sure you check out my sponsor, BetterHelp, too. If you out there, you suffering right now, I mean, whatever's going on with you, yo, please talk to somebody. And if nobody's ever told you they love you, I'm telling you right now, I love you forever and always. You hear me? Y'all be good out there. Introduces. I'm out. God bless.
See y'all.